Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the very first edition of Starting Up. Here at Starting Up, we're going to be guesting and talking about everything and anything about technology. We will be showcasing startup and up-and-coming companies, and that's our goal, to put the spotlight to who's out there that needs noticing. And who knows, someday they might be someone that we will all look up to and become bigger. Today's guest, we're very excited to talk about and know about the guy behind JobseekAI. So this is an up-and-coming company that focuses on AI in terms of helping out people in their professional lives. We will be talking and getting to know more about who he is, what he has done, how he was able to achieve what he has achieved so far. So please be part of the welcoming of our guest, Neji Tawo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
So we'll try to make this as relaxed as possible, okay, for us to be able to relate to our audience as well. Okay. All right. I guess my first question, and a lot of questions would be shared upon by as well other people in the industry, is what the heck is AI? What is it really about? I mean, a lot of people have talked about, has voiced out about AI, but what is it about really?
Well, thank you, Waggy. AI, as the term implies, says artificial intelligence. I like to think of it more as augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. So, to define what AI is, it's a bunch of algorithms. Okay. I'll take you a little bit into the background history. In mathematics, there's an equation called the linear equation, the equation of a straight line. Okay. Now, that equation is used to predict in certain instances the occurrence of certain factors based on previous knowledge or previous data. Okay. So the fundamentals of AI are just a bunch of equations, a bunch of algorithms that can predict the next word, the next event, the next sort of classification and all that. So at its core underlying fundamentals, AI is about predicting what comes next. Mm-hmm. Now, AI has had three eras. We had the era of machine learning. So machine learning is basically the fundamentals and all that. We now had the era of deep learning, okay, where you talked about neural networks and all, and then you now have the era of generative AI, which is where you have the chat GPTs and all of that. So all of this fundamentally is about predicting what the next step is. I'm trying to simplify it as much as Absolutely. I can, but it is AI is the branch of machine learning that tries to achieve human level, similar level of intelligence like a human would, pretty much based on data it has been trained on previously. Okay. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, sure.
And I know our audience as well watching now to today's show found some sort of clarity as far as what AI is. Yeah. And I appreciate you being more, explaining it to us more in a layman's term kind of thing, right?
Okay. Thank you.
I'm including our audience, I guess, we're also interested, how did you find yourself in this industry? And this is us right now diving a bit into who you are, who you were before you are, who you became the founder of JobseekAI, and us to get to know you a bit more. Who is Neji? What did Neji do before, and how did he end up doing this?
Okay, well, Neji is just a regular tech guy. I started off about 20 years ago as a software engineer, and in fact, my background originally was in electronic engineering. Oh. So it happened that I had a challenge. My dad put me up on a challenge. He said he had a gas station where they were always stealing gas from the tanks, underground tanks. Okay. And if you've ever worked in the downstream, like maybe at a gas station, they have these big tanks underground where you will take a dipstick, put it in,
Okay.
Bring it out. Then you had the dipstick had it was like a ruler with a marking. So you will check the level and you will see that, okay, if it says 50,000 liters, it's on that mark. So you can kind of say, okay, yes, this is. So what kept happening was we always kept getting gas put in there, and it never was on any of the markings there. Okay. So we tried to figure out, okay, how much gas did we really have in those tanks?
All right.
So my father was like, I was my last year in engineering school. He says, hey, figure out a way to solve this problem. So I developed a bunch of equations, figured that out. And at some point I realized, oh, this thing is so accurate. I could predict exactly how much gas was in the tank once I took a tape and measured the wetting on the dipstick. So I was like, well, why don't I build some kind of software for this? So that's how I actually got into the tech industry. I built my first program, my first company in 2006. It was called Station Soft. I sold that program to my dad. And this was back in Nigeria. I used to live in Nigeria then. And then a couple of years later, I moved to Canada. And while I was here, I was at RBC. But before I joined RBC, I was at Deloitte. So as a senior consultant at Deloitte, one of my first projects was helping a client predict which oil and gas wells they should actually dig in, or explore using machine learning algorithms. So that's how my journey started. This was in 2018. Okay. I would say I got fully into AI then. I joined RBC later, and in the bank, you had a lot of interesting experiences where there's a lot of credit card fraud happening. So you had to predict which transactions were exactly the ones that you should flag and the ones that you should ignore. So that kind of got me interested and to go in deeper. And during the pandemic, I went again further, took some courses, and built my first AI company right out of the pandemic, trying to verify people using biometrics and AI. So from there, that company, we kind of like folded it after the pandemic because it was purely pandemic focused. Right. And I started JobSeek about a year and a half ago. Okay. The idea was, how could you help people make it easier for someone to find a job? I'm the kind of person that, of course, I could say I'm a lazy person because I don't want to go on 100 job websites and start. So I thought of building a program for myself where I would just throw in my resume, and then the AI could take my resume, understand exactly which roles I qualify for, build out a bunch of career paths, and do a search across the entire web for me. So that's kind of how JobSeek came alive, and that's my story.
Interestingly, because you mentioned throughout your journey, it just started with you doing business with your dad and trying to figure out how to make life easy and identify the problem, try to find a solution to that problem, which is sort of us, right, in our everyday living. You made mention that you started your first company, was it 2006?
2006, yeah.
From 2006 up to 2025, how many startup companies in nature have you started so far?
Well, I would say I have done at least around 4. Wow. To me, it's been about solving a problem. Right. And that's what I tell students and people, like, you just have to think with that problem-solving mindset. I am a walking question mark myself, so constantly asking questions and constantly interested in, how do we fix this? So that has taken me across several industries, exposed me to several aspects of technology. I used to tell people, I said, if I were to rate how much learning I've done, I should have at least 10 PhDs right now, because based on just how many unique circumstances, problems,
evolving, and
exactly, one has faced and all that. Yeah, so pretty much.
Curious to know though, Neji, coming from someone, so when you started your first tech company, back 2000.
Right out of college.
Right out of college. You studied, of course, before you started your tech company. But for most people, and this is something I experienced, people would reach out to me and ask me, how do we get ourselves in the IT industry if, say, for example, we have zero IT background, no experience at all, but we have the passion, we have the interest, we want to be part of the IT industry. What would be your sort of advice to people like that has zero IT background and we want to be in the IT industry?
I would say we live in very fortunate times. Okay. Back in 2006, there wasn't really much information. There wasn't much guidance. Right. But when I walked in here, I looked at there's a roller banner behind us that said, Alberta Educational Center,
Okay.
cybersecurity diploma. You had diploma, like you guys already. There's already tools are already at your disposal now.
Right.
So you do not need to have a computer science background. That helps. But anyone who's interested in IT, I would say take advantage of these programs, these training programs that you guys actually key.
Absolutely.
And I've actually looked through some of what you guys do. Some of the best. I've seen some very great faculty you guys have here and all that. So I would say my advice to any upcoming, any person who's interested in getting into the IT field, just find a career program, a career college that has a good program,
Sure.
and jump in. Because back then you pretty much had to learn almost everything and go in this direction, that direction, spend so much money.
Absolutely.
I remember one of my first training programs while I was still in college, while I was trying to solve this problem. On Saturdays, I would travel about 400 kilometers to go and attend an IT training school called NIT. And at that time, I think the fees were about almost $1,000 a month. So think about a student. So I had to work like 3 jobs just so that I could actually pay for that program on the weekend.
Okay.
And that was an Oracle certification program. And when I finished that program, I now realized, I just spent 6 months learning Oracle, whereas I needed to have been learning Java.
Right.
So they were back then it was a bit tougher. So the advice I will give now is just don't waste your time trying to come straight here. Like a college like Alberta Education Center offers these programs. Come into one of these colleges and they'll get you set up.
Okay.
That's my
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love that. Next question. When you're transitioning in the IT industry, and I've had several conversations in the past with tech people, with students, anyone and everyone out there. One of the things that has come to my attention is that when you want to start up a career in the IT industry, the best way to go about it is get connected, get associated with startup companies, with up and coming companies. Are you in agreement with this statement? And if so, why?
I would say yes. Startup companies are one of the best places, like where you can really, really get your skills sharpened, more or less.
Yes.
And the reason is because startups don't have as many resources. Right. So everyone is a generalist in a startup. I think, for example, because I'm from a startup ecosystem.
Yep.
I was forced to learn full stack development. I was forced to also learn cybersecurity. I was forced to learn mobile development and cloud engineering and AI as well. I was exposed to all of that because, especially when you're even doing aspects of consulting. So you have a client or you have a problem that needs a certain sort of skills. So you will literally have to learn that. So, yeah. And that's pretty good because for students, people who are coming in fresh, into the industry, startup is one of the best places, I agree, to actually get into. Yeah. So you get your hands really dirty when you start up.
When you want to hands-on experience.
Exactly. But it's not like saying the bigger companies too can offer that. But the thing with the bigger companies is departments are more specialized. So you might end up in becoming a web designer, and that's all you do.
Right.
And the tech industry is evolving super fast. Every 6 months, there's one new thing. So you cannot afford to be complacent or left behind. Technology is evolving every day. So I would say the people who go to the startup industry are more prepared for all the disruptions that we've seen, like of course, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Yeah,
absolutely. And thank you for that, for sharing that information, Neji. Another notion that I've heard, whenever I had conversations and discussions with people is that the assumption, and I would say assumption because I hear like both sides of the story in terms of AI being something that we should be fearful of, because I'm sorry to say, but I'm a huge sci-fi movie fan. And if you watch Terminator movies, for example, you've seen, how Skynet took over the world, that kind of thing. There's this assumption that AI is taking over human jobs and taking over society and everything like that. And then there's this another assumption from the other side that says, no, they're just making our lives easier. They're just making, similar to how we build tools from the olden times, right? We used to walk miles and miles to get from point A to point B, but now we have, cars and things like that we can ride and, to get to places where we want to go. Point is this, is AI something really that we need to be fearful of? Or is it a tool that's just making lives easier for people like us?
Great question. I am inclined towards the latter.
Okay.
So AI being a tool that is really, really helping make our lives a lot easier. But at the same time, I'm not unaware of the potential for disruption that AI has actually caused, job losses, and all the other things, and even the risks around things like ethical AI. So I like to liken, I think about AI as one of three great innovations that humanity has created since the beginning of time. Okay. Number one being fire or discoveries. Number one being fire. Number two being electricity. And let's say four. Number three being the computer. And then number four being artificial intelligence. So in light of that, I would say each of these, fire itself can be dangerous or it can be used in a positive or a negative way as well. Electricity can be used in either positive or negative. So AI is pretty much the same. So in the same vein, it's about its application is where that potential for great good or evil falls in place with. So that's where ethical AI is in fact key. Then when you talk about job losses and disruptions, every time there's been a major invention or innovation, there's always been a whole bunch of job losses. I read something recently about when the automobile was invented, and people say no, they wanted faster horses because the cars couldn't go as fast as a horse, and then you had to come out every time, change. I think is it the steam engine or something like that? That was what it was, right? So there would always be disruptions. So the key now is how do you prepare yourself to actually so that you are not disrupted totally. We are all going to be disrupted, but totally. And what's even interesting is that people this is one of the first eras where it is people who are in the white collar jobs are the ones that are going to get disrupted. The jobs that rely on high intelligence and all of that, they are the ones that actually are going to be like coders, for example, like myself. We are the ones who built AI, and we are the ones who it started with disrupting, first of all. Now, and we can argue about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but my advice to folks is that you guys, everyone, get AI skills, because it's not AI that will primarily disrupt your job. It is the person using AI that will take your job. So take note, it's not AI that will take your job, but it is the person using AI that could take your job. So you have to be proficient in using AI to get ahead way faster. Of course. Yeah.
So I love that answer, Neji, because it's similar to how we look into, say, mobile phones nowadays, right? 15, 20 years, maybe 30 years ago, we had mobile phones in existence, but it's primarily used for communication in terms of maybe calls only, and then it evolved to text, and then it evolved to being smartphones, and to the point that everyone and anyone, I find it interesting because nowadays, if you take public transport, for example, not a single person inside the bus or the train would not be looking at their phones. So at one point you have to think about, wait, are we using our mobile phones as a tool, or is the tool using us at this point? Is it the other way around? Because it has just consumed, right, our things that we do, our times and things like that. People nowadays, even, something as simple as having a family dinner, all right? I would always have to remind people at the dinner table to don't use your phones. This is our time for the family. We have to look at each other when we talk. Because sometimes we overlook that fact. We look at our phones while talking to someone. So are we controlling this tool, or is the tool
To
controlling
control
us,
it.
right? So it's the same premise, right? It's the same idea. Question though, because I want to dive a bit better, a bit more on what you mentioned about the ethics at work, right? AI is a tool is provided for everyone to use to make our lives easier, to make our jobs easier. But what would you say as someone who has started 4 companies, has had employees, has worked with people, numerous people in the past years, how would you advise us to make sure that we control AI and it's not the other way around? Like, what are the check and balances at work, maybe, that you would say?
Yeah, that's an evolving field currently. There's
Okay.
a lot of active conversations around ethics in AI and guardrails. So for AI developers, one thing that there's really been key and really been centerpieces. At what point does this thing get smarter than us?
Yeah.
At what point can it fool us? So, but the cool thing though is that as part of AI training, there's a process called reinforcement learning with human feedback.
Okay.
And it is used to align AI models to ethical standards. So that way, it's not just part of the training. The great part, the fortunate thing is that it takes a lot of resources to train AI. So training AI is not just available to just anybody, at least not yet. Foundational models are very expensive. They cost millions and millions of dollars to train. Mm-hmm. So we're likely not going to see any immediate current danger around an AI model that has been trained to actually do harm or go off the rails.
Okay.
But with that being said, there's also the aspect of responsible AI development. So I think what society needs to do is emphasize the responsibility. And I will liken you that with the electricity analogy.
Sure.
As a kid, you are taught, do not put your hand into the socket because you have power flowing in there. Do not take your friends to put their hands in there as a kid, right? Because the responsibility around electricity, which is we take for granted. Right? But I'm certain that in the early days of that development, you had people who were electrocuting themselves. There were people who were using this for probably nefarious purposes and all of that. But eventually now there's that shared understanding around the ethical use of that. So I think in the same way we can apply that with AI and say, okay, this is a tool, just like every other thing else that's out there. We have to be responsible. It's just like driving. You're driving, there are rules around driving. There might be need for some licensing down the road. There might be need for some certification. And it will be interesting to see how that evolves. Yeah,
and it's an ever-evolving industry, absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk more about, or let's get into you seeing the value of AI and integrating this to your current company, which is JobseekAI. Let's talk more about that. Let's go and introduce a bit more about what your company does.
Yeah.
What it specializes on, and specifically targeted audience and things like that.
Oh, okay. So JobseekAI is originally, and it has one purpose, to help the job seeker to get ahead in their job search. And it also has another component which we just released called Talent Manager to help the employer find the right candidate. So there's 2 problems now we're solving.
Both ways.
The first problem is that as a job seeker, how do I know which jobs I should be applying for and which ones I should ignore? So what we did at JobSeek was to say, candidates typically, especially newcomers and kids out of school, they're applying for all these jobs. You send 100 applications, you've never heard back from any of them. Yeah. The job friction and frustration that sets in is a real thing. Right. I have experienced it. So, so now what we did at JobSeek was we said, how could we make, using AI, generative AI, could we tell this job seeker which jobs they should be applying for based on your skills, education, qualification, and which ones they should not be? And in the case of the jobs that they shouldn't be applying for, we can tell you which missing skills you are actually for each job, and link you directly to the resources, which are the colleges, the learning centers, the programs where you can fulfill those skills.
Okay.
So that was the fundamentals around JobSeek for the job seeker. Now for the employers, we said, employers, you put a job out there. People are using AI right now to fool applicant tracking systems, like the typical filters. So they put a job right now, they get 1,000 resumes. The 1,000 resumes pass through the entire filter because, of course, the applicants will go to ChatGPT and make a resume and send it to you. Now, when you receive that, how do you dive deeper to know which candidates actually have the required and requisite experiences that match that job? So that's the way we call talent manager. So with that, you can actually ask all the resumes to explain themselves in context to this job or to pitch themselves to you as a job seeker. Then we went a bit further about that, and we found out that we noticed that usually job search, of course, someone looking for a job, it's usually typically frustrating. But we thought, how can we reward the job seeker each time they apply for a job? And that's why we introduced blockchain technology into it. So we built our own cryptocurrency. Each time you apply for a job, we send you a reward, and that cryptocurrency is interchangeable for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's the uniqueness of JobSeek. It's the world's first platform that actually pays you for looking for a job.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And this just came out of this. Did you just dream about it one day? Like, I create something like this.
Like I say, it's a problem solving. Right. When I'm trying to solve problems, I go so deep and I lose myself in it. So I had the idea. I'm also a blockchain developer as well. Right. As part of what I said, enjoying being part of a startup, you have, so I thought about, I was like, how can I make it such that I'm looking for a job and at least I can get paid each time I apply for that job. Right. So that's kind of how that came about.
And it's an approach that's not new. It's not rocket science to apply, because it's as simple as going to any grocery or any department store, for example, or mall. You shop.
Yes.
And you gain points.
Yes.
And you get to use that points.
The points to actually to reshop.
Yeah. Well, in essence, it's cash value that you get out of it. Right?
Cash back. Yeah.
But that's a very good idea. Yeah. I wanna ask you something about the idea of because as you said earlier, right, the technology of filtering and going through the applications or the resumes, because companies nowadays they receive hundreds, if not thousands, of applications daily, right? Yeah. And if you only have a limited number of people going through those applications, you must be as efficient as possible, right? But I want to hear your thoughts on why should we lean toward, because the olden times, I grew up in a world, I believe you would agree with this as well, in a world that everything is done manually, right? You submit a resume, if you want to apply for a job, you have to physically print out your resume, physically be going to an office where you want to apply a job for and submit it there, and the rest, would take care of it of itself. But nowadays, everything has been innovated into technology that everything can be done at the comfort of your house. Yeah. You just send an application via email. Yeah. You could, before you have to spend a whole day to apply, say, for 5-10 jobs, as you jump from one office to another. Nowadays, you can apply for 100 jobs in one day, just sitting in front of your computer at the comfort of your house. That's how technology works. But would you say that this approach of having AI assist a human being in filtering applicants is more beneficial for companies, or the human touch is still something that we should account for, that if you have 100 applicants, you have to go through the 100 resumes physically?
Well, I'll tell you a little side to this. Okay. Companies have been using some rudimentary form of AI over the last 10 years to screen job applications that come in. Okay. So applicants send a resume, of course, like you said, through email. They receive hundreds of these resumes. They use something called an applicant tracking system. Okay. Now, those systems have keyword filters that are able to analyze these resumes, pick out the specific keywords that they would expect a candidate who's well suited for that role to actually have in their resume. And it will let that in for the hiring manager to have a look at. Now the hiring manager takes a look at it. And so out of maybe 1,000 applications, maybe 20 will get passed through that filter. That's kind of how it was. So it was manageable. But now with generative AI, the applicants themselves have gotten smarter, and they will take their resume, use AI, augment that resume, ensuring it has the keywords and the filters. So you put out a job and you get 1,000 applications down that you have as a hiring manager that you have to read through. How are you going to read through 1,000 applications? Now, the human element is still very, very important. You cannot ascend. You cannot say, outsource this to AI to just go find that.
Right.
Yeah, because you will still run into that problem. So there's an aspect of human experience. And that's where we did at JobSeek. We allow you, the human, to interact with all these resumes. Mm-hmm. For example, if I posted a job right now, say I'm building a dating platform, for example.
Okay.
I post a job, I want a software engineer who knows the technologies that I'm going to use. I will get 100 resumes that were seemingly all qualified candidates. But when I pass this through JobSeek, Talent Manager, I can say, okay, who among these candidates has worked extensively on a dating application that does this, that, and this? Mm-hmm. And because the fundamentals behind generative AI is around context and understanding. And it will now pick out those candidates who have had those experiences. I can now ask follow-up questions and interact till I can find a handful now that I'll be working with. So that's kind of how we solve that problem. There's a human element which will never go away. And we think with JobSeek, it helps with that.
So. Absolutely. I love that. I want to backtrack a bit because earlier you made mention about blockchain. Mm-hmm. Okay. Earlier, when we started this conversation, Neji, I had you kind of talk to us for the benefit of all our viewers. Mm-hmm. What is AI, in layman's term? And I've heard about blockchain before, but it's something that I don't get into a lot. So if I'm an ordinary person hearing about this the first time around, like, what is that? What is blockchain?
Okay.
How would you explain it to us?
Okay. Blockchain. I would use this, let me use these flyers right here as an example. These are a bunch of flyers right here. They are JobSeek flyers, they're JobSeek pamphlets. Now, each of them has the same thing on it. If someone takes one of these and makes a change right here, they're not the same. The changes happen here.
Right.
It's not the same with all of that. So now what blockchain is blockchain is just a tool whereby I can make a change here and that change would also appear here on this one and also appear on this one. But each of these systems, each of these flyers must all agree that the change is valid.
Okay.
So until all the 4 flyers agree, none of those changes will persist on each of them. Mm-hmm. So it's a technology, in a nutshell, I hope that breaks it down. So it's called a distributed ledger system. So it's originally a white paper came out in 2010, I think. I don't know, Bitcoin white paper that's introduced the concept of the distributed ledger and blockchain technology, and cryptocurrency was one of them. But blockchain has other applications beyond cryptocurrency: identity management, proof of experience. There's so much you can do with blockchain technology beyond just crypto. So at its fundamental level, blockchain is a ledger system that is distributed across a network that not one single person can control or change, or at least that's the original concept. And each of the ledgers holds the same thing and agrees on what the value should be. So if there's no agreement, then whatever you put in there or you change wouldn't stick. If there is an agreement, then that update is made across several systems. So that's kind of what blockchain is. I hope I explained it in a way you can that's understandable.
I think our audience are now more educated. Okay. I believe in terms of knowing what blockchain is, and I think that's also what's good about today's environment, right? We grew up in a society that, for example, you ran into a word watching a movie or reading a book and you don't know the meaning of the word. You had to look for a dictionary to find the meaning of the word, right? Nowadays, you experience the same challenge. You just get your phone, go to Google, and type word meaning, and it just pops up, right? It explains everything, different resource materials that would make you understand what that is. Plus, you also have the option to know how a certain word is pronounced. So everything is and anything nowadays is easier to find using technology. I love that. Thank you, Neji. Okay, going back to what your company does, right? So your company helps out essentially applicants, both two sides, right? So applicants and the employers get the right applicant, right? So far, having this sort of technology in place, what has been, would you say, the biggest challenge you've encountered? Because we've heard about it. We've heard the idea is obviously very, very good, right? It makes a whole lot of sense for companies not going through thousands of applications. And it makes sense for someone like me if I'm a job seeker, right? Not going out there or not going through different websites, to seek for a job. But based on your experience, when you started this company, what has been your biggest challenge so far?
In the early days, it was technical challenges because many of the things we did hadn't been done before. So figuring out the nuts and bolts of this thing,
right.
How do I make an AI model analyze 100 job descriptions and against your resume and coming up with some kind of universal matching score. So sort of create a metric that can say, okay, you're a 70% match for this. You're a 30% match for this. So it took a lot of training. You had to train the model. You had to do a lot of prompt engineering, all of that. So the first initial were technical challenges. Then the second we had was the speed challenges. How do you do all of these in a time, because people have very short attention spans. How do you do all of this within a short time span? So when we finished resolving those, next was now the marketing and explaining this, and so far I would say that it's become a lot easier as time went on to say, hey, this is one platform that can do all these things right now. And now when we tied in the blockchain aspect to it, that's when we started to see a lot of interest because people seem to seemingly want to know more about blockchain. And we are even introducing a concept called tokenized resumes. So you can actually tokenize your work experience, and any employer anywhere can find you and verify for sure that that you really have that experience. So those are some of the updates and innovations that we've had to put in. So it's been an interesting journey. Of course, funding too has been also a challenge. Purely bootstrapped this company from ground zero. Up to we're revenue generating right now, and so pretty much, and then talent also. Finding as funny as it sounds, you think you have the talent for projects like this. Finding that was also quite a challenge, but that has improved as well.
Wow. Yeah, I based on that, I would assume that your journey has not been easy, but has been quite eventful up to this point. Curious to know, though, how many men and women are working with you behind the scene in making this all possible?
The JobSeek team is about 10 people on the team. We're distributed. Some of them I have never met in person, but that's the beauty about beauty of the area. Work. So we have about 40 members here in Canada, about 4 in the States, and then 2 internationally overseas. So
all over the world. Scattered all over the world. All right. Interesting to know, or I'm interested to know rather, because this is something that's been raised to me as well. And I'm curious to hear your expert take on this matter, because ever since the pandemic happened, we've evolved to understanding and putting importance to remote. The ability to work or study or do things remotely, right? A lot of jobs right now are offering that sort of ability to people, not just to the traditional approach of going to your workplace and doing your job, but you can work remote, any part of the world, which is something that you're doing in your company. But what would you say would be, as an employer, you're leaning towards too? Is it the existence of both on-site work and remote work merging together, or is there sort of I'm leaning more towards on-site work, or I'm leaning towards more remote work?
Well, both have their advantages,
pros and cons.
Pros and cons, and I would say for on-site has been the way the world has worked for thousands of years. Anyway, and remote became more prevalent during the pandemic and all that. And there were some studies that showed that innovation suffered because of all the remote thing, and that there's teams that were, I don't know how valid these are, but there's some studies that came out that said, hey, you have to have, when people are sitting at a desk, in that energy, there's more ideas flowing. So I think there's some validity in that as well. So on site, the key here would be, in today's world, would be to find some sort of middle sweet spot between taking advantage of remote work, access to talent, access to, of course, the convenience around it, then the on-site aspect as well, being able to meet your team members, the humanizing,
I love
who's like on the screen. So I think there's a blend that really gives that. I'm more inclined to say the blend of both on-site and remote is the direction, the great direction to be.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. Wow, we've talked so many things during today's discussion, and I'm pretty sure both myself and the audience would agree that we've learned a lot from you, what your company does, and about AI. As a parting note, I guess we can now talk more about, or maybe promote more, your company, what you guys do, and why should people use JobseekAI. So this is your opportunity to just like make sure that our guest is aware who you are, what you do, and you're out there.
Well, thank you so much, Maggie. JobseekAI is an AI platform that helps job seekers find the right job and also helping employers find the right candidates. At a nutshell, that's what it is. So we are currently the world's first platform that pays you as a job seeker each time you apply for a job in tokens, like what we call the blockchain tokens and all that, where you can earn Bitcoin from. So JobSeek is also one of those tools that makes it easy for you to scale. During the interview, I said, it's not AI that will take your job. It's actually the person using AI to get ahead that will take your job. So JobSeek is one of those tools that could help you apply as a job seeker, you're fresh out of college or fresh out of a training program. It's one of those tools that you should have. Even if while you're in college, internship search is a big challenge as well. We have that covered on JobSeek, so you can go in there, click on Find Internship. There's a mobile app available on the iPhone and for Android, and we're adding a whole lot of cool features. And then even training. So you're looking for a specific kind of role, you find that role on JobSeek, and JobSeek doesn't just search only on one site. It searches across the entire internet, Indeed, LinkedIn, all of that, everything all together. And it tells you, okay, you are missing the skills, cybersecurity. This is what you're missing. You're missing maybe penetration testing as a skill. Now, where can I get penetration testing? It shows you, you click on it, the missing skill, it shows you the programs that you can take. And programs, for example, offered by the Alberta Education Center are on JobSeek. In fact, we're onboarding that currently. So we'll tell you, take advantage of it, and it's free to try. So thank you, Aggie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neji.
All right.
Pleasure.
All right.
Pleasure.
As well. Yeah.
Again, guys, thank you. This is, wow, this was a very, very interesting and very, very knowledge-rich experience. We'll hope to do more of this, and we'll see you during our next episode. Thank you. See you.
Thanks.